Ooh, I guess I will put the banners up. Welcome back to another episode of Didi Got a Podcast. My name is Demetrius. I go by Didi. Happy that you all are tuning in for another episode. Always appreciate that. I'm going to just say here at the beginning, I've had a very, very, very busy weekend for a plethora of different reasons. So because of that, I'm going to try to keep this within an hour. And the talk of the town, many of you all have been emailing me and DMing me nonstop. Didi, have you received a cease and desist letter? Our friend Zach over at Wolves and Finances dropped a video that's trending all over the place right now, stating that Erika, Kirk, and Turning Point USA sent him a cease and desist letter threatening to sue him for essentially investigating Turning Point USA. And I actually did not watch all of the video, so we're going to react to it together, or at least some of it in today's live. And I want to go over it together. I will say I checked the mail, and the first thing I saw was a document with this on the back, and I said, oh, shoot. I never see anything with this red flap, so I knew I had received something, but it just turned out to be something about polls. So in today's live, man, I want to speak to you all as to why it is that I believe that I have, number one, have not received a cease and desist letter, and I don't believe that I will. And I know that that is probably going to shock many of you all. And for obvious reasons, it would not have been right to at least extend an invitation to only the very first person who conducted his own Doge style audit of Turning Point USA, the very first person to do it, that being Brian, the auditor. And believe it or not, Brian and I haven't even discussed in depth our views around this. So much of what I'm going to say will be Brian's first time hearing it, and vice versa. All right. So I do want to state that. And a lot of you all will be catching this on replay because I know other people are live right now as well that are sort of quote unquote main characters following the Charlie Kirk psyop, which is what I call it. So before we hop into today's video that we're going to be reacting to, Brian, is there anything you want to share before we react to the video?
No, Didi, I think we're good to start.
All right, perfect. I just want to say also at the beginning, hit the like button as always, please. I have about 6 reasons why I believe that I will not receive a cease and desist letter. Of course, I could be wrong. I hope I'm not wrong. I could be wrong about that. Something can change tomorrow. My entire perspective could change tomorrow after I check the mail, right? But I don't believe that that's going to happen, and I have my reasons. All right. So with that, I'm going to hop right on over to YouTube, and we're going to hop into this together, and let's see what our friend Zach has to say. Let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. Okay, looks good. Make that full screen. All right, let's do it.
I received a letter from Turning Point titled Demand to Cease and Desist Defamatory Comments. This is the first step when someone sues you for defamation. I know there are a lot of people out there making videos about Turning Point, so you should pay attention to this. They have started sending out cease and desist letters, and for some reason, they've decided to start with me. Apparently, they cannot handle the criticism from my teeny tiny YouTube channel. This letter is showing the world the type of organization Turning Point has become under Erika Kirk. They want to send legal letters to small YouTube creators. So we're going to go through this letter. And by the way, if any of you know a good lawyer in Arizona that handles defamation cases, have them send me an email through my website because I'm looking for a lawyer.
So I'm going to stop it right there early on. Any early thoughts on just the introduction there on what he shared so far, Brian?
I do, but maybe we'll hold off. Maybe it'll give me more time to think. But yeah, some things just to me seem a little off, but we can keep going.
All right, perfect.
I spy on my competitors every day over coffee. Let me show you what I do. So I use this website, similarweb.com. They have
Turning Point states in the letter, Turning Point entities are not looking for litigation. Rather, their interest is in the truth and making sure the public record is accurate. So they are claiming they do not want to sue me. But I view this letter as a threat to sue, and I think any reasonable business person would do the same. A cease and desist letter is the first step towards a defamation lawsuit. I interpret this letter as Turning Point telling me to shut my mouth or they're going to sue me. I do not understand what Erika Kirk is doing. Out of the hundreds of people posting on social media about Turning Point, why are they targeting me? Why are they so worried about what I am saying that they're sending me legal letters? I am one of the smallest YouTube channels in my market segment. Who do they think I am? I'm a working accountant with a small YouTube channel. I have no money. I have no power. I have no influence. I don't know how much money they think they're going to get from suing me. All I have is the truth. And I'm not going to stop speaking the truth because Erika Kirk doesn't like it. The one good thing about a lawsuit is that everything will be out in the open, and Turning Point will quickly find out that I have nothing to hide. The letter came from a lawyer named Paul Edgard Harold from South Bend, Indiana. It seems like this is Turning Point's lawyer. I looked him up, and I cannot find that he has been admitted to the State Bar of Arizona in order to practice law in Arizona, so I'm not exactly sure how he's going to sue me in Arizona, but maybe he's working with other lawyers. In the letter, they order me to, please confirm that you will publicly correct your false statements immediately. This is not what I was going to talk about this week, but Turning Point is demanding that I communicate their statements publicly. So here we go. They include a whole list of statements they claim are false that I have made in my videos about Turning Point. Now, I'm not interested in spreading false information, so I'm glad that Turning Point reached out to me because if I said something wrong, I am happy to correct it. So let us go through the statements where they have a problem. And you're going to want to hear this because some of these are wild. On November 16th, I posted a video called Bombshell, Did Turning Point USA Commit Fraud? They say these are false claims. Charlie Kirk ordered a Doge-style audit that was never conducted. Here's my first problem with this letter. They do not include the actual quote that I said in the video. This is a paraphrased statement of what I said, and they are saying that the paraphrased statement is a lie. You have to tell me exactly what I said that was supposedly a lie, and they do this through the whole letter. So my request to this lawyer in future letters, because I'm assuming there's going to be more, please include the actual quote that I said so that I can respond to your accusation. But I'm going to at least try to interpret what they're saying. I spoke in my video about a memo that Charlie Kirk wrote 8 days before he was murdered. In the cease and desist letter, they say, indeed, Turning Point USA's COO announcement concerning the Doge effort never used the word audit. So this is breaking news. Turning Point's attorney has now confirmed that the Charlie Kirk memo is authentic. We now have legal confirmation this did happen. It seems like their problem with my video is that I called it a Doge audit, when in the memo it is written as Doge effort. So they want everyone to use the word effort and not use the word audit. This letter is seriously hurting my head. Whatever word you use, the memo is clearly talking about an evaluation of Turning Point. But we cannot use the word audit. We have to call it an effort, or they are going to sue you. The letter goes on to say, the announcement makes clear that Turning Point USA was doing what it has always pledged to donors, ensuring it was being efficient with its funds and time and making changes to foster greater efficiencies. Moreover, Turning Point USA hires a third-party audit firm to conduct an audit every year. This is all just their opinion. This is how they are interpreting Charlie Kirk's memo. They think that Charlie Kirk wrote this memo, and they think it means that they do not have to do anything. How convenient. They think that Charlie Kirk wrote a memo just to tell people to keep doing business as usual.
Okay, so let me just go ahead and pause it there. To first say, as the person who, when a lot of things, when the Charlie Kirk incident first took place, Brian, you reached out to me via email and said, "Hey, I've actually already conducted my own audit of TPUSA. Obviously, the rest is history. We dropped the video and it broke the internet." When you hear them making the distinction, and one can say that it's simply semantics over Doge effort as opposed to Doge audit. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it feels like there's more to this. So I think if we take a step back, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we did the video on November, let's say 12th, somewhere around there. And then it was just always strange to me that 4 days later, he did this video. And so we have to start there, because I'm someone, let's just use me. I'm someone who's been a researcher a very long time. And Didi, you can vouch for this. When I send you stories, I'll tell you in it, this is original reporting. Hey, I'm reacting to some reporting. Always I make sure to say that. So that way you're aware, if you're going to run one of my stories, you know, hey, this isn't really mine. I'm just maybe synthesizing something I found and then maybe adding to it. And maybe I'm wrong because I haven't gone back to watch his video, but I don't recall that happening. It could just be a coincidence. It could just be a mistake. I'm not saying anything because I don't know the guy. I'm only just saying I found that odd, right? And I believe I'm allowed to say what I find odd without saying any more, because I honestly don't know. I've never spoken to him. And so from there, to me, what it felt like was, they're now using his video to control the narrative. We talked many times on your channel about limited hangout, that term I keep harping on, because the first time I heard the term, it never left me because I had chills. It made perfect sense to me, right? Like, this is how things work. If accidentally someone breaks through with a real story, get someone else to control that. And so I know you said you haven't received a letter. I haven't either, because according to the internet, it's not my story. It's his. Every big channel said it was his. So why would I get a letter? Jimmy Dore said it was his. And I'm not picking on these channels. I'm literally just reacting to what I saw. This is not hate. I want to be careful. I'm not angry. I don't care. But this is literally what happened. I'm just giving commentary on why I found all of that strange. So, you know, I don't know what to make of that other than that is, or you tell me if that's not how it went down, but that's how I remember it going down. And I also thought it was odd that, as he said, he's a very small channel. Why isn't Jimmy Dore getting a letter? And maybe he will. Why isn't Candace getting a letter? Why isn't Ian Carroll getting a letter? Baron Coleman? Because really, Turning Point shouldn't care who made the first video. They should care who's amplifying it the most. If this is all about cease and desist, Jimmy Dore has 1 million+ subscribers. His video went nuclear covering wolves in finance. And so I would expect him to get a letter this week.
Here's the issue. Here's another issue. Let's, like you said, take a step back. The truth is, many of those individuals that you just named, myself, and I'll throw myself in that group, should have received a cease and desist letter first. It's not even just a big deal if we receive one as well. The truth of the matter is, many of the names you just said should have received one first, as in they have bigger platforms, they have a larger voice, larger following, right? They're reaching more people. Like, you, to your point, that's what matters the most. So why would you send it? This is my question. And I want to be clear here. I'm not asking for a cease and desist letter. I don't want one.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, I don't believe I'm going to get one. And the reason you just gave was one of my possibilities. Zach, I wanted to do the right thing, and I extended Zach the opportunity as well, but I only did it an hour ago, so he probably didn't see it. And he can always come on the channel another time and have a conversation. But I'll phrase it this way. Zach, brother, I don't know you in real life. Don't doubt that you're a good guy. But as someone that don't actually know you, and you've spent money to support the cause, that being my Patreon, I appreciate you doing that. So I'm going to word it this way to be responsible. Zach, if it were anyone else, I could easily look at you or the person that would be in your position as controlled opposition, brother. Why are they sending it to you? Now, if we're going to go surface level, I made sure that I wrote these things down so I don't forget any of these. This is just being innocent, giving everybody the benefit of the doubt and taking it at face value. This would be one of the first reasons why I believe I will never receive a cease and desist letter. We would never receive one. One, Candace shared Zach's video, which I stated before I thought was a bit strange. Not saying anybody's obligated to share Brian's work, but the truth of the matter is the very first person that shared this was Brian. And his video was everywhere, all over social media by regular folk, regular people, everyday people. The people spoke. This is what they were attracted to, Brian's work. But what I noticed was Candace Owens, Tim Pool reacted to Zach's video, and some other YouTubers that are not as large, their channel was around the size of my channel, they was calling it Zach's work. And I was, kudos to Zach. I love your videos, bro, with the Doge audit. But the truth of the matter is, that was one that was out already. Why is it that people were not and shout out to Ian Carroll. Ian Carroll reacted to it. Jess on Fire reacted to Brian's work. But that was strange to me. And I got to give credit where it's due. Candace Owens did comment on the video. So if I'm taking it at face value, my first reason would be, well, maybe because Candace platformed Zach. Maybe she platformed him. And because of that, the additional odds that was placed on Brian, placed on Zach, maybe that caused Erika, Kirk, and Turning Point USA to say, okay, this is the guy we should go after because they platformed him. This Brian, the auditor guy, even though his work was first, it was incredible. Well, they wouldn't use the word incredible. It was super granular. Very thorough. Candace didn't really share that. Candace didn't speak on that one. So let's go after the one that everybody's calling the original. Interesting.
It gives more credibility to being the original.
Right.
Right?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, Tucker Carlson's brother just commented on this.
Who did?
Tucker Carlson's brother jumped in on this already.
I didn't know that. On the cease and desist letter?
Yeah, responding to Wolves in Finance on Twitter. So you have Tucker Carlson's brother. So if anything, to your point, I didn't mean to interrupt. So I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
No, you good.
But I was just saying it added to me more to what you're saying, that now if you're not paying attention, that's the originator, right? I don't know how else.
Which is in a way could be a tactic used to discredit your work, to take eyes off of your audit.
And one thing, in case anyone's thinking I'm saying this out of jealousy, let's remember, I'm not a content creator. So I have zero to gain by if everyone is giving me credit. I have no YouTube channel. I have no Substack. I have an everyday job. So if the entire world says Brian's a genius, I'm being hyperbolic, I gain nothing from that.
Right.
So this is just me giving commentary. As I don't know how else to say it. I gain absolutely nothing if everyone says I'm the most amazing thing, because I have nothing to, I'm not going to gain followers. I'm not going to get anything. So it's not about that here at all. You know?
Yeah, I agree. And
I give my work for free.
That's true. Never charged me any of that. And here's the thing. Another reason why I don't believe that I'll receive a cease and desist letter is because I did actually conduct the audit. I hosted someone else that conducted the audit. So I think, yes, they could go after the person that platformed the auditor, But that could be, again, if we're taking this at face value, that could be the perspective like, okay, Zach's an actual accountant. I'm not. I'm a person that platformed someone else that did the work. A person that you all know as Brian the Auditor. And that's all you should know. Not that they can't figure out what people's real identities are, but I'm saying, to Brian's point, he doesn't have a YouTube channel. He's not a content creator, right? He's not an influencer, right? And something else was boots on the ground. Maybe that, again, taking this at face value, maybe that's a way to look at it. Zach was actually going. He went to the location somewhere in Arizona where one of the donors or one of the people that was being paid by TPUSA, where their location was. So maybe they, again, taking this at face value, was looking at this as, this is a person that's in Arizona. This is a person that's actually applying pressure not only online as an accountant, but they're actually going to locations where we're sending money, showing up to people's businesses, PO boxes, and things of that sort. So maybe we need to put pressure on this person to send a message to everybody else that what you're doing, keep it on the internet, but don't go the next step. I haven't done anything like that.
Same here. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing, I don't know if you know, there actually is a precedent though for going after podcasters. A 2018 case that was pretty big deal. A pro wrestler named Colt Cabana had a wrestling podcast. He had a guy on named CM Punk who talked about his time in the WWE. They both got sued. And Colt Cabana almost went broke from it. He got sued hardcore by Vince McMahon. And he barely didn't say anything on the podcast. It was CM Punk. So they don't care. They'll go after it. If they want you, there's a precedent for this. Anyone can look it up. Just type in CM Punk, Colt Cabana versus WWE. I might be off on the years. I thought it was 2018. Maybe it's 2017, but anyone can find it. It's in the public record.
Wow.
So these people don't care, is what I mean. That's evil to go after the podcast guy that was just sitting in his apartment, hosting CM Punk. They don't care. When they want you, they want you. And they'll bleed you out. Alan Dershowitz, if people want to go on Twitter, there's a clip, I think from 2024. He talks about this, essentially like defamation lawfare or something, he calls it. So it's like, hey, if people are starting to say too much, we'll just bleed them out. We'll bleed them out in court.
Now, this comment right here, I'm curious to hear what you're going to say about this. Someone said, Didi, they're only threatening Wolves in finance because he's too close to exposing their lies. I'm not sure I understand what this means.
I would think some of these Twitter accounts they'd be more concerned about than Wolves in finance.
Right.
Twitter accounts are saying things that you and I have never said. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not saying the Twitter accounts are wrong. I don't know because I've never researched it. They may be right. I have no idea. But I feel like it's far more, if we were to classify what's considered extreme, to me, that stuff seems more, again, they could be right, but it sounds more extreme on the surface than us showing receipts of, hey, here's what so-and-so got paid. Some of the stuff you see on Twitter about Erika Kirk seems like, wow. And if it's true, it's true. But it seems like, man, if I wanted to shut someone down, I'd shut these accounts down before Wolves in finance.
Exactly. Which is, once again, it's weird. To Zach's credit, he asked the question in the video why they're starting with him. He don't know. But that's odd to me as well. That I can't wrap my hand around, because you can't convince me that Andrew Kovic, who's the spokesperson for TPUSA, even Erika Kirk herself, there's no way you can convince me that they believe this was the first Doge-style audit that they saw. No, it's not. So what is he doing that's unique that makes you say, let's use him as an example? You see what I'm saying? I'm trying to understand, like Zach said in the video, why him? That's I don't know.
It could be they're just trying to scare everyone off. I mean, there's no doubt he can be 100% legit. He just happened to make the video after hours, and someone had to get picked, so he got picked, and it's to scare everyone else to stop doing this. I think that's very plausible. I just think we don't know. I also don't think that's definitely what's happening, but I think that's a plausible scenario of what they're doing. But who's us to know? Maybe one thing quick. When Julian Assange happened, you know who that is, right? The guy from WikiLeaks?
Yes, yes.
So I always wondered if that was a psyop. Why would that be a psyop? To scare people from ever being a citizen journalist. You see what happened to Julian Assange. Are you going to start reporting on that stuff?
Right.
Or are you going to go back to watching Netflix and, ordering Grubhub all day?
Right. Playing it safe.
So again, I'm not saying it was a psyop. I'm saying I considered it because I thought it would sure make sense. You control a guy, you create that story, and then now everyone's going to think twice. Who would want to be in solitary confinement like he was in another country for 10 years?
Exactly. And to Zach's point, or to Zach's credit, he's made maybe 3 videos about TPUSA, 4. I've made like 40, 50, 60. From, I've made like 3 or 4 with you.
There's the term, the Streisand effect. They don't want that on your channel, right? It's the reverse, meaning if you get canceled, you get bigger. If you get sued, you get bigger. That's the Streisand. Like, it's possible they've seen your videos and go, we do not want to amplify this channel.
Share in the chat, share in the comment section if you're watching this on replay. Why do you think it is that they started with Zach here? Is it because he's located in Arizona? Is it because he's an actual accountant? Is it because he has history, for those of you that don't know, where he did some sort of audit of some high-ranking politician, I believe, based out of Arizona?
Yeah.
What do you think is the reason? Because I can't seem to understand that one.
Maybe that's a good point. Maybe it's payback for that.
Playback. Yeah, go ahead.
Could be payback for that. Yeah.
Well, my opinion, and the opinion of many other people, was that Charlie Kirk's memo meant something different. This is not a statement of fact. It is an opinion. This is another problem I have with this letter. Most of the statements they mention are opinions, just like this one. If you are going to accuse me of defamatory statements, they need to be facts, not opinions. If I have a fact wrong, let me know, and I will happily correct it. But I will not change my opinion of this memo to whatever you want. But since it is so important for Turning Point, I have no problem with specifying that Charlie Kirk's memo used the words Doge effort, not Doge audit.
What if your small business could run a TV ad on the #1 streaming platform in America? Well, now...
The next statement is, someone at Turning Point decided not to file 990 forms. At the time I made that video, those forms were not publicly posted. Those forms were posted after I made that video, and I have already made a correction about that. The next statement is, in 2023, $650,000 may have been funneled from Turning Point USA through Turning Point Action to Turning Point PAC to evade campaign finance restrictions. They are referencing this chart from my video. They claim money actually went from Turning Point Action to Turning Point USA as a reimbursement for event expense. There was nothing nefarious about that transfer. I'm not sure they are contradicting what I am saying. According to their own statement, Turning Point USA used their own donor funds to pay for an event on behalf of Turning Point Action, freeing up Turning Point Action funds, which they then transferred to Turning Point PAC. They are saying that later, Turning Point Action reimbursed Turning Point USA for that event. But that doesn't change what I was saying. Additionally, in my video, I specifically said, again, this is not necessarily illegal if they structure their transactions correctly and utilize campaign finance loopholes, but it certainly looks unethical. That is my opinion. This money did move between the organizations. I'm allowed to have my opinion. On November 30th, I posted a video called Explode.
Was there something you wanted to say there, Brian?
I'm sorry, I was just talking to myself. I'm like, of course.
Right.
When he's saying he's allowed to have his opinion, like this part of it is a joke. What they're trying to come after him about. This is a complete joke.
Yeah, and what's even more crazy is I'm glad Zach referenced his original video, because what's interesting is that, similar to what you did, Zach did a great job of continuously repeating over and over, this may not be illegal. I'm not saying that this is illegal, but it's unethical. It appears wrong. It seems fraudulent in an ethical sense. It seems immoral. We're wondering, or we're curious if the donors know about this, right? That these are how the funds are being used, right? And if we're wrong about something, we'll correct it. So the fact that you go through these I guess I can say necessary loopholes to make sure that the way in which not only the substance in itself is legitimate, but you try to make sure that the delivery of it, the way in which you communicate this to the public, don't come off necessarily like you just hate the people. You just come off more as a genuinely curious person who's trying to figure out what's going on here, because as somebody that supported, because Zach is a conservative, he said himself he's a conservative, something just seems off here. So if there's a legitimate explanation to these things, he's willing to hear them out, but he can't think of too many things that they could tell him to explain these numbers that we saw.
That's what's scary about getting a letter like this. Is it illegal to say something's immoral?
Right.
Like, yeah, maybe it should be illegal if I say what they did was illegal, or if he says, because then if it's not, you're wrong. It's binary. It's either legal or not. But last I checked, you can question morality on just about anything.
Right.
Now, this is weak so far. I mean, their case is so weak. It's shocking that a lawyer would take the time to write up a letter and send to him just because of just how insanely weak this is.
Right. And I saw several people reacting to this, Candace Owens being one of them on Twitter. And she said that she's curious who, and I'm curious the same thing, who's advising Erika Kirk, because they just continue to do things that are almost self-sabotaging. This doesn't help you. Like, it's not helping you doing this. So that makes me think, again, just being honest, Zach, why they're starting here. It's like, it's all of this aside to begin with to shut us up, to get people to stop making videos altogether around Erika Kirk. I don't know.
Didi, you know what's the most strange, at least in my opinion? Remember the John McGovern mistake?
Yeah.
They don't mention that.
And that's the person that's receiving the most amount of money, right?
Yeah. Even though he corrected it, don't you think they could argue, yeah, but you really defamed the guy. This poor guy you said was a Ukrainian and was up to all this stuff, and they don't like. I would think that would have been first in the letter.
Right.
Like our highest paid employee, you had the public thinking, and they didn't even say that. So you just wonder, why is this so weak? Yeah. And by the way, he's destroying them right now in this video.
Yeah.
Like he's making them look so bad. I mean, it's actually brilliant the way he's handling, itemizing these just ridiculous claims. So far, this is like a huge loss, in my opinion, for them.
Yeah.
Explosive. More fraud at Turning Point USA. They say these are false claims. There was more fraud at Turning Point USA. I assume they are referring to the title of the video here. They, of course, are saying that there is no fraud at Turning Point USA. The content of the video is me going over the evidence of fraud and sharing my opinion. Now, technically, a true statement would be that no one has been convicted of fraud at Turning Point USA. But whether fraud is going on right now is an opinion. This is what happens in every criminal court case. Both sides look at the facts. One side gives their opinion that they are innocent. The other side gives their opinion that they are guilty. Turning Point is looking at the financials and claiming that they are innocent. I understand that. I'm looking at the same financials and thinking they look suspicious. I did not even say in my video that they committed fraud. I think I'm very fair and balanced when I say, now for legal reasons, I have to say that I do not have any evidence of a crime. We would need an investigation of the books at Turning Point to know for sure. What I am saying is that there are red flags in the financials at Turning Point and a lot of questions that need to be answered. That sounds to me to be pretty fair and balanced, and the complete opposite of what they are accusing me of saying. They cannot take my statements out of context and accuse me of defamation. I have the right, as a journalist, to report on Turning Point's financials. Their opinion that they have not committed fraud is just an opinion. My opinion is that it looks suspicious.
I dare you to let me build you a completely free e-commerce store.
Now, it is nice that we have this letter with their official statements, but the letter does nothing to change my suspicions. It does not address most of my questions. Instead of answering my questions, it is the precursor to a lawsuit unless I change my statements. That does nothing to reduce my suspicions. For the sake of avoiding miscommunication, I can change the title of the video if that makes them more happy. I already changed it from More Fraud at Turning Point USA to More Fraud at Turning Point USA, allegedly. The next statement is that
You gotta give him credit. That's hilarious.
Hey, if I'm even the attorney, if I'm somebody at Turning Point USA and I see that, that would make me so angry.
Like I said, how bad is he destroying them here?
Right.
He's if this is like a UFC fight, this is a, what would you say, like a TKO first round?
Yeah, like a TKO.
I mean,
It's like Israel Adesanya fighting against a rookie amateur fighter. It's like it's a complete flip flop, mixed match.
America's Turning Point had ghost employees. The letter explains. America's Turning Point had 80 employees in FY23 and 108 in FY24. There was, however, an inadvertent error in America's Turning Point filing, which failed to note these employees, and America's Turning Point is in the process of rectifying that inadvertent error. So I was right. There was something wrong. They did put incorrect information on the 990 form. There were missing employees they were not reporting. They have confirmed it. And just to be clear, this was not some minor mistake. This was around 80 employees that were somehow missing. Their complaint is that it's not correct to use the term ghost employees. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that opinion, but that is their position. I find this incredible. How are they going to sue me for this? They admit that I am right, that the employees were not reported correctly. They don't like the wording I used. How is that defamatory? The next statement is that donations to Turning Point Action increased from $10.7 million in FY23 to $27.2 million in FY24, and suggested that Tyler Boyer may have been recruiting these donors away from Turning Point USA to undermine MAGA and benefit himself. Again, this is not exactly what I said, and I find their paraphrasing of my statements a little silly. They are claiming that Tyler Boyer never tried to undermine Charlie Kirk in any of his decisions. Tyler Boyer never tried to benefit himself in his role at Turning Point. I find those claims a little excessive.
I do too, and I know that I'm not an attorney. From my knowledge, Brian, you're not an attorney, but from a legal sense, you're threatening to sue someone because they stated that you undermined another human being, and you're stating on their behalf that they did not. How would you be able to prove that they've never undermined, that Tyler Boyer never undermined Charlie Kirk? I'm trying to understand how that works from a legal stance, right? Because it just appears to me they're just angry. You said bad words. We don't like it. Fix it. Say nice words. Where does Zach's rights come in, right? Especially as a journalist, you have the right to state your opinion about certain things. I understand that there's a fine line between that and defamation, but this right here is just silly to me.
He's not even close to the fine line. He's not even close. I mean, you're allowed to undermine. Like, this is ridiculous. He's not even close.
Yeah. And this part right here, for some reason, tells me that, I mean, nobody will be shocked to hear this, that Tyler Boyer and Erika Kirk were probably the two main ones. And to be honest with you, I would probably say Tyler Boyer being over Erika as far as the person that made the decision to send this out. I know that Erika's the CEO, but something tells me that Tyler played a bigger role.
What I actually say in my video was sharing my opinion on the financials, which I'm allowed to do. When you see Tyler Boyer's organization growing so much faster than Charlie Kirk's organization,
Right.
that looks to me like a corporate takeover from the inside. That is my opinion, which I'm allowed to have. Now, of course, I cannot know what is going on inside Tyler Boyer's mind, but that's not what I said in my video. I was not speaking about his state of mind or his motivation. I do not know that. The letter goes on to explain that donors naturally direct more money towards election activities in election years, especially to organizations like Turning Point Action that can engage in lobbying and political activity during election years. Accordingly, you are wrong to assert that the increased donations to Turning Point Action evinced any sort of wrongdoing on Mr. Boyer's part. So their explanation is that all the changes in the financials can be explained by the election. That is their official explanation. I do not believe it, and that is my opinion. On December 7th, I posted a video called Top 10 Clowns of the Year. In this video, I called Turning Point my #1 clown of the year. I talked about the now infamous interview with Turning Point's chief security person talking about the day that Charlie Kirk was murdered. I point out the massive contradiction where he says they were not allowed to fly drones. Then I show the interview with Frank Turek where he says he was watching drone footage with Charlie Kirk. This part is breaking news because I'm not aware this has ever been discussed. The lawyer in this letter says the following. There was no discrepancy.
What?
UVU prohibited Turning Point USA from flying drones for security purposes during the event, but did allow a Turning Point USA media production drone to briefly fly over the location before the event to collect limited B-roll footage. First of all, how could this be defamatory if I had no idea about any of this? Second, I find this explanation absurd. You are telling me that the security team was not allowed drones, but the media team was? That is the official explanation from Turning Point's lawyer. My honest opinion is I do not believe that. But if that did happen, that is really silly, and it may have cost Charlie Kirk his life. On December 14th,
Just hold on, just real fast. The fact that you would send a cease and desist letter to a YouTuber or YouTuber/accountant for simply stating what he observed, what we can all observe and see, which is that Brian Harpo's interview was a direct contradiction to what other people said, such as Frank Turek. You're more concerned that a person stated that there were discrepancies than you are about, or at least it appears that you're more upset about that than you are about the actual fact that drones were flew over at the very beginning, but not after the fact, which is an event that would eventually allegedly lead to Charlie Kirk losing his life. When you be more upset, I would just expect you to be more publicly vocal about that point. That is what you should be upset about, not the fact that somebody on YouTube pointed it out.
How many people even know that Wolves in Finance pointed out that one part about the drone? If you were to quiz people now, how many even remember that?
Exactly. There were
right?
far
Like, what do you
other-
think? 1%?
exactly.
You know
Exactly.
what? I forgot about that. And I saw his first video.
Right. That makes no sense.
posted a video called Tim Pool Rants about Turning Point. They say these are false claims. Asking whether money sent to 110 LLC was to bribe Jay Kaufman. Again, that's not exactly what I said. They are complaining that I'm not allowed to ask questions. I cannot ask questions about 110 LLC. I cannot ask questions about Jay Kaufman. I think those are fair questions to ask, given that Turning Point sends them millions of dollars as one of their largest independent contractors. This is America. I'm allowed to ask questions.
And I want to remind everybody that these are so-called conservatives. Pro-free speech. You're allowed to have your opinions and ask questions. But as I've been saying for the longest, it's double standards on both sides.
But I think it is fair for Turning Point to also state their official position. They claim
if you saw the news, but Fox News is claiming President Trump is declining in the polls. And President Trump responds.
Turning Point contracts with 110 LLC for legitimate services. The money you ask about is spent on marketing and advertising services. Any claim that it is a bribe is false. The second statement is
Pause there.
asking why America's turning.
I think this is probably the most important part, what we just saw there.
Okay.
This to me feels like a distraction from the real story. So they're focusing on this bribe claim that it appears Wolves in Finance never said. And I know for a fact I've never said that.
Right.
How about what they just said right before that? The $10 million is for advertising and marketing. $10 million is for advertising and marketing?
Right.
From a small guy that we couldn't find a website for?
Right.
How is that not the story? Maybe because they don't want that to be the story. So now the story is, well, this Wolves in Finance guy called it a bribe. Let's focus on that. That doesn't seem crazy to me to think that's what's going on with this part of the story, because I can't even believe how they just skip right over it. It's like, hold on a second. All that money for marketing and finance to a guy that's in the orbit as well? That's more than fair to raise a question on.
All right. Totally agree.
That's wild stuff to me. That's wow.
Point lists COO Tyler Boyer as an independent contractor. Again, they are saying, I'm not allowed to ask questions. Does Turning Point see the irony in this? Charlie Kirk died under a tent with the slogan, "Prove me wrong."
Wow.
His whole college campus tour was about asking questions. And now Turning Point is sending out legal letters to small YouTube channels accusing them of defamation for asking questions. I was asking the question why their COO was an independent contractor. I think that is unusual. That is my opinion. Turning Point is now stating their official position. America's Turning Point lists its COO as an independent contractor because his substantive role for America's Turning Point is more in line with the contractor classification. So this is new information. Now we know Turning Point is intentionally doing this. This is not a mistake. They are intentionally classifying their COO as an independent contractor, which means they are not withdrawing payroll taxes to send to the IRS.
I just thought about something that was actually stated early in the video too. So according to Zach in this video, Turning Point USA told them, or stated in this letter, that every year they had a third party. So if I remember correctly, and Brian, correct me if I'm off here, I thought what Turning Point USA was stating before was that they just had an external organization to come in. Now, the reason why I want to make the distinction here is because the external organization I just thought was the same organization that was in Turning Point USA. And the pushback to that, people were saying was, okay, fine, you have someone else to come in and audit your financial statements, but if you have the same person coming back every year, how do we know that they're not in your payroll? Like, how do we know that they're not biased and that they're not lying for you, overlooking things on purpose? And other people were saying have a third party. So I guess I'm probably not wording this the best.
No, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
There's for them to state in this letter that they had a third party. I don't think I'd ever heard that before. I thought they just had like this regular organization that has always audited TPUSA. I thought that's who were doing their audits. And Charlie was calling for a third party, or potentially a third party, to come in, or I know Candace for sure called for a third party to come in and conduct the Doge style audit.
Yeah. So I could be wrong too, but I always thought third party was synonymous with the auditor that's signing the form. You know how on the 990 there's that, I believe they're called Blake Tilley.
Yep.
And I might be wrong, but I'm almost positive they used Blake Tilley because Blake Tilley does a lot of the nonprofits.
Yes, it was.
And so whenever I heard people say, well, a third party audited them, that's just what I always assumed. Now, there could be another party on top of Blake Tilley. I would tell you that's unusual, because why would you get another party when Blake Tilley has already signed it and said you're good? Look, I work in finance. You guys have no idea how exhausting audits are. the last thing I'd want is now to sit with more auditors. Like the audit process is the worst thing of the year.
Right.
So, I don't know, but I would think that's who they mean. And also, I don't recall Charlie Kirk calling for a third party. I recall Charlie Kirk saying Justin Strife, who was an internal TP employee that was also his consulting company, if you remember, was getting some money from Turning Point.
Yeah.
So to me, that's not a third part. That's not independent at all. That's a dependent person. That's someone who depends on Turning Point.
All right.
So unless I'm misremembering, we'd have to look at that letter because I
think it was also saying in that memo, it was Justin Strife that replaced Tyler Boyd, correct?
Right, for that position. Yeah, I think CEO. So then when you think third party, you would more think like what you and I did. Someone completely independent. We don't work there.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about you, but me, I've never donated to them. So that's
Right.
truly an independent person. I have no dislike or like for I have no connection. So when I think independent third party, I think someone like that, not someone
Right.
who works there that's being, tasked with looking into where the money's going.
Yeah, and to further Zach's point in this video, what is it exactly that they're wanting to get out of the the Doge effort as opposed to Doge audit? It doesn't change the goal here, right? It doesn't change the issue here. It doesn't change the questions that we have at all. Okay, a Doge effort, fine, not an audit, an effort. What does that look like? What does that mean? How do you have a Doge effort without an audit? What would that look like? How would Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk conduct a Doge effort?
Yeah, that's a good point.
How? What would that look like if you're not going to look into the numbers? Because like we always say, follow the money. It's going to come down to the dollars. So are you insinuating, Erika, Tyler, that the problems were not the finances? The things in question were not the finances? Because my understanding, especially based off listening to Candace, Charlie was curious about where the funds were not only going, but one could even argue more importantly, where were the funds coming from? It doesn't change the questions here at all.
And when you're a nonprofit, do you know how easy that is to get in your internal system? That's one query. So that's why the whole letter threw me off when Charlie Kirk sent that. He could have just called one of his people and said, hey, go in the system, look up inbound receipts. Give me a printout.
Why do you think he sent it to the entire staff like that? Any theories?
Well, now because of this cease and desist, now I am a little scared to
sure.
give what. Let me just say this. Maybe I don't know if this is safe to say. Are we certain everything is straight with that letter? We're certain that letter was sent. We're certain he wrote it. Do you know what I mean? Are we?
See, I thought about that too, but here's the problem.
I'm just asking. I'm definitely not saying I know.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're
not stating that. We're just asking, and we're curious if this is what may have potentially happened. But this is what I want to state, though. I considered that in my head early on, but Charlie was still alive, right? This was before September 10th. So is it that means it would have been if it's been proven that it was sent, then Charlie would have had to known about it, right? How does something get what do you call it? A mass email when everybody gets it, receives it? How do you send it to everybody, but Charlie doesn't know about it? So if Charlie knows about it, but Charlie didn't put the letter together, then what would be the explanation behind that? So that's why I didn't really give that much credence, because I'm saying Charlie would have had to know. It's not like it was sent the day of. That would be different. Or the night before. That would be different. Maybe Charlie didn't see it. But this was sent, I believe, like on like the
September
2nd.
I thought.
The 2nd, I think, yeah.
You know, it's also a great way to save face. So if they suspected stories like this were going to come out on the finances, what better way than to hey, look, Charlie's the good guy. Look at this letter. He didn't know about any of this. He sent the letter. It proves he didn't know anything about this.
I follow you, Brian. Well, we got to be careful. We're not gonna go down that.
Well, I'm definitely not. Again, just like Zach has said, you should be allowed to say, "Isn't that possible?" I'm not saying that happened. How would I know? I don't work there. I have no idea. It's just we have to admit this letter is strange.
Yeah.
It's strange the way it's worded. It's strange that he didn't pick an outsider. And as I want to emphasize again, it's strange that he would even send the letter. I'm telling you, one phone call to his accountant. Let's say they use SAP. That's an ERP system that manages transactions. Hey, Didi, go into SAP. Give me an Excel file of every inbound donor receipt from last year. That's like a basic task that a accounts receivable person can do in 5 minutes.
But
you don't need a Doge.
Yeah.
At my job, we don't have a Doge. They just call, hey, can you go get this? And I would just go in the system and get it. I don't know. Maybe they don't have a system there. Maybe everything's on pieces of paper when someone don't. I don't know. But they're a $100 million organization. I would think they have a software that manages, you know what I mean? That manages this data. So that's
Brian,
why
I have to say, I believe that's the most important thing that was said in this video. Which is, ironically enough, another question. More questions about the letter. You make a great point, man. Why was that letter sent out under such weird circumstances? And then just a week later, that is, I can't say what I'm thinking because I'll find a more creative way to say it, maybe in a different video. I got to think about how I want to word what I want to say because as you know, Brian, I've entertained other things that may have happened or may have not happened that day. And so I'm going to just safely say it this way. Everything in this video is alleged. I wonder if that memo was sent out to, like you said, show, look, Charlie had no clue about this. Charlie was wanting to look into it so that if I'm gonna stop there. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and just stop. I'll stop. But see, this is the intended effect. Not that we shouldn't be careful with what we say anyways, but see now, because of this very video that we're reacting to, yeah.
And that's why I was careful too. But again, this is more than fair to say that, because I just laid out how easy it would be, again, to get that information. If he's that worried about where the money's coming in from, trust me, it's not hard to get. And just in September, what about the last 3 years? Because as I showed, this has been going on since, what did we see, 2019?
Yep.
But somehow just now he woke up and went, hey, where's last year, the year before? He's not thinking, why does his inner circle have jet skis and big homes and boats and everything? Like, I don't know. Those just seems like things that would at least cross my mind. Doesn't mean someone's dirty, but I would just think, hey, how does Mikey, or made up name, how does Johnny have, a Mercedes? And I would just think that, because in my own personal life, I would think that. I'm thinking of friends now. If all of a sudden they had all this stuff, I would just think, how'd Johnny get that?
And this right here, people, is what you call, and this is no shade to anybody else, I'm just stating for the record, this is what you call real journalism. What I mean by that is you can tell that Brian and I are really brainstorming here. We're really trying to figure out we're exercising all different theories and possible explanations to these things. What Brian just said brings me to the question I asked just the other day. How did Charlie Kirk not know any of these things that's come out about Erika? Charlie didn't know any of them? And I'm not talking about, oh, yeah, he knew she went to Liberty University. Yeah, sure, he knew she worked in Israel, in Romania. I'm talking about some of the questionable things. The movie, all these things about the music, that's weird. That's weird because now all of it comes out. Charlie was married to the woman, right?
Allegedly married.
Allegedly, he didn't know any of these things by Erika, which brings me to what Brian just said. Brian's audit showed that this was taking place because remember, you came back onto the show to address, I forget what we addressed. It was we were rebutting, or there was some sort of rebuttal to someone. And they were like, oh, such and such about 1 year. They was like, this is, I believe it was some sort of tweet that was put out from a Turning Point USA affiliate or something, correcting something that was said, but that they never referenced which audit, even though it was clear they were talking about your audit. And you came back and you said, okay, fine, that's 1 year. What about the other 3 years?
Right.
What about well before that? What about since then? My audit, speaking in Brian's, if I was Brian was like, my audit shows, look, this was not just a 1 year thing. This is not just doing 1 quarter, 2 quarters. This happened over years. Charlie had no clue. He never questioned any of it. Something's not being said here.
Yeah.
Something's not being shared here.
Or maybe he was never the CEO. Because see, all these things can't be true.
Everything we're saying is alleged. We don't know.
Right.
Maybe he was the front. Maybe.
But there is one thing we know. 5 things can't be true. You know, they say 2 things can't, but 5 things can't be true. So he can't be a genius. He can't also be the CEO, but then he can't be naive Charlie who did it. You know, that's just all I'm saying. Like, so at some point we have to pick one of the things that are true because they're so diametrically opposed, like magnets going this way, that which one is it? So if he's a genius, well, then some things come with being a genius.
Very well said.
And then if he's naive, well, then some things come with being naive. So it's like,
pick one.
Pick one, right? And it seems like no, they want to do have the cake and eat it too, where it's just everyone's innocent, everyone's naive, but they're also geniuses. You know, they're also rich, but then they're also like
right. Yeah, right.
So
which we know when more and more money is involved, it increases the likelihood of fraud to take place. Not saying fraud took place. I'm just saying, historically speaking, with other organizations not named Turning Point USA, we know that when more money is placed, let's just think of it just simple ethics in everyday life. When money is involved, people start to act different. It changes the dynamics of things. It's just the truth. We're supposed to believe that with this organization, millions of dollars, these are ludicrous numbers. We're not even supposed to entertain the possibility that fraud could have been taking place. Especially when you have all these shell companies. Okay. You got to pick one.
You got to pick one. Yeah.
Now, if I were their CFO, I would not do this. But for some reason, their CFO, the politician Justin Olson, has determined with all of his accounting expertise that this is the best way to classify their employees. Whatever the reason, this is Turning Point's opinion about an IRS classification. It is not a statement of fact, and I'm allowed my own opinion. The letter also states, more generally, you have accused the Turning Point entities of being shell companies. This too is false. They are arguing about what can be defined as a shell company. They don't want anyone to call Turning Point's multiple organizations shell companies.
Now, this part, I'm going to completely lean on you, Brian, as someone who has conducted audits, obviously. What are your thoughts here? Can we just loosely, is the term shell company interchangeable, or should we be super intentional whenever we use that word or that term?
Yeah, so it's a great question and a great point. I think first thing to think about is, and we said this multiple times, legally, because of course the rich write the laws, you're allowed to create multiple nonprofits. Right? You're allowed. They could create 10 more if they want, and there's nothing wrong with that from a legal standpoint. When I hear shell companies, for me, I think more the LLCs, not these. I guess it's, you could argue maybe these are, but to me, the shell would be more, hey, if we've got an internal employee who's a board member who then also has an LLC that's getting business from Turning Point, that to me feels more shell, than this. So maybe it's just a semantics thing of defining what really a shell is. I don't see how this would be a legal thing, like how could you go after this guy Zach for the way he used the word shell?
Right.
He didn't use it like so egregiously where it's like, oh, this is so defamatory. I mean,
Right.
no, yeah, this is another really, really weak part, because I know for a fact Zach has agreed with me that this is not illegal to create all these nonprofits. So what's the problem? It's back to now. It seems like saying immoral has now become wrong for someone to say. That's what this feels like.
Right.
Because he harped on the fact that this is immoral, and I agree with him, but it's not illegal, and I don't know why it's wrong for us to say we don't feel like an organization that claims to be so virtuous should be just have all this like strange setup. Like why can't it just be straightforward? Here's our nonprofit. Here's what we do with the money, and that's it. There has to be a PAC. There has to be an endowment. There's got to be 3 other nonprofits. Like why does that all have to be?
Good point.
Why is there such a web?
Personally,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, all I'm saying is, why is there such a crazy web? Why do you have to untangle this huge web?
Why is it so hard for you to explain that if to no one else, the donors?
Yeah.
For the people that are donating, so that they can know and feel better about where their dollars are going.
Like Hias. Remember Hias?
Yes.
There was no web.
Exactly. It was clearly laid out. And
Clearly
very well
laid out.
explained. Yeah.
Clearly, I mean, that was one of the easiest videos you and I have ever done, because
Yep.
as I kept saying, there was no analysis. We just went, here it is. We weren't asking, why are they doing this? Is this it? Clear as anything. It was so simple.
And it's very disingenuous to pretend that anyone who is not Turning Point USA that looks at these numbers for the first time and they see just what Brian explained, just that, which is it's not clear where some of these what some of these organizations are doing. Some of them appear, I'm not saying that they didn't, they appear to have 0 employees. It's very disingenuous to pretend that you don't understand why people could look at that and say, it makes me believe that fraud could be taking place here.
And the vagueness, everything is always, quote, consulting, marketing, advertising. Those are very hard things to quantify. So what is that worth? Right? Like we said, if you made hats for Turning Point, that's easy. We make 1,000 hats. Our cost to make the hats are $5. We get a profit, right? Boom, boom, easy math. It's just always hilarious to me that it's these 3 categories: marketing, consulting, advertising. And then it's always high dollars.
Yep.
You can't audit that. I have no idea if that's the right price, the wrong price. I have no idea. What do we have to benchmark that against? It always felt like, man, if you're going to mark something up, you mark up things that no one can benchmark.
And now if you notice this and suggest what could be an explanation, they're threatening to sue you. Yeah.
I do not agree that it is an incorrect use of the definition. Turning Point is moving money between organizations like some kind of shell game. A shell game is a classic street hustle and magic trick. So in my opinion, I think it would be appropriate to call them shell companies. But if Turning Point is so upset about the word shell company, I have no problem calling them something else from now on. On December 28th, I posted a video called Shocking, Turning Point Fraud Gets Worse. They claim you recklessly repeated many of the previously described falsehoods and again directed viewers to the home address of Mr. Boyer, which has resulted in threats to Mr. Boyer's
No,
safety.
he did not.
Let me explicitly state that I condemn any violence, any threat, any harassment being sent to any employee at Turning Point. Do not even harass them on X.com. Do not retweet at them. Do not send them angry messages. Keep your comments in my comment section. Just for the record, I will repeat what I have previously said. And I have to tell people, please do not go to Tyler Boyer's house. That is not appropriate.
Literally.
I was in no way calling for violence against Tyler Boyer, and you are absolutely false in claiming that I was. In the video, I blacked out Tyler Boyer's address, which I did not have to do. He put the address himself on a public document. That's not my fault. That's his fault. Don't blame me when I have tried to protect his privacy. So that is the letter. There are more paragraphs of legal language that I skipped, but that is pretty much the letter. I have to say that in general, most of the things they brought up were nitpicky little things, like they don't want me to use the word audit or the word shell company. Those are not even facts. But I am going out of my way to adjust for some of their requests. And I want to mention something else. Take a moment and think of all the statements they listed in this letter as problematic. I think it's around 11 statements they are claiming are false. Now think about all the things I've talked about in my videos on Turning Point. There are a lot of other things that I have said in my videos that were never mentioned in this letter. They did not say I got those statements wrong. I think that is very telling. Again, I have no desire to spread false information.
Yeah. And another thing that this made me think about, Brian, is this, not that I didn't know this already. Of course, anybody with 2 brain cells should know this. It's clear to me that, okay, Erika Kirk is very aware of all the accusations, all the suspicious things, all the things that are being shared and alleged, yet they continue to have more and more weird things happening with them. Like, well before AmFest, a lot of these things, both audits were out. Your audit had been out, obviously, and then Zach's came out shortly after. And then AmFest happened weeks and weeks and weeks later. And it's one of the weirdest, cringiest things we've ever seen before. It's almost to my point that I made another video. It's like they're wanting to make people suspicious or something, you know?
Very much so. For one, to me, these are just actors on a world stage. And so I don't think someone like Eric or Kirk would be that upset, because if you're playing your role, let me go back to wrestling. When the bad guy gets booed, does he go backstage upset? He goes backstage happy, because his role was to be the bad guy and get booed. When you play a movie villain in a movie, are you upset if the audience hates, your character? You're happy, right? That means you effectively played your role. Same with Donald Trump. When he has to play the heel, he's happy. And when he has to play the baby face, like now,
it doesn't matter because it's all an act.
Same with Biden. It's all the same. So why would we view these folks any different? To me, or Tupac, actors are actors on a world stage. And so that's why I don't overanalyze. Oh man, Erika's upset. Erika's not upset. I would suspect she's living just fine, because she's playing her role as, she's being her true self as whatever. And she sure doesn't look upset to me. When I see her in video, she looks happy. So she looks well rested. Her eyes never look, with big bags under them or anything. So yeah, I don't really put like a lot of stock into, maybe Erika's going through some kind of humiliation ritual that they put everyone through. So, because you hear some people say, oh man, in 2028, it's going to be Erika and Vance. Well, if that is true, to get there, you got to give. You got to give to get, don't you? You don't get to that level without giving. And so how many times have we seen sacrifices, humiliation rituals, someone's child somehow drowns in a pool that's, a mile away, and you go, why'd that happen? And then all of a sudden they get pushed, right? We've seen this with actors all the time. Kanye made that famous video. Remember, Michael Jordan father went missing. He goes through all the names. So yeah, I just think we shouldn't like really overanalyze all this and just see for what it is. Hopefully I'm making sense, but in my mind, it makes sense.
It made perfect sense. I couldn't have said it any better. Yes, I believe that is exactly my position with all of this. I say roles are being played, but I think what you just said, part of what you just said is going to go over a lot of people's heads. Regardless if you're doing something to upset people, make people happy, or make people feel indifferent, you're going to always be happy because the way in which the audience or the masses reacted was the intended outcome. So when people assume you're going to be upset or man, she's going to come out, like a lot of people was waiting to see when Erika was going to start crying. It took a while before we actually saw some tears. Okay, to answer you all that are just now joining, no, I have not received a cease and desist letter. I started off the show sharing that I have not. I also do not believe that I will. But of course, if anything changes, I will let you all know. So that is for you all that are asking. But yes, this is interesting. This is interesting.
Our emotions are always being controlled, right? Like, that's how I look at it. That's how I got on that subject of what I was saying about the actors. Like, it is critical for this whole system to work as intended that our emotions are being controlled and led. Because if they get out of control, well, if there's 8 billion of us and there's only, let's say, 2,000 of them, isn't that a huge problem?
Mm-hmm.
The whole system would collapse. That's why they speak in very controllable, like marketing kind of language. So then right away you've got this position. Oh, I'm upset. I feel for this person, or man, I'm so angry that the media is so hard on Trump. He's such a victim, or I hate Biden. I can't believe what Biden said about whatever. You know, you're right. You're falling right into it. Like you should have no emotions to any of these people, good or bad. You shouldn't, like when we got on the Dan Bongino topic and I got blasted by a lot of people, that aged pretty well. And I bring that up because how did I know that? I have no emotional connection to Bongino. That's why I was able to see through, so to me it was obvious because I don't like him or dislike him. So I can just see what's in front of me. But if I like you, it's going to be a lot harder because I like you. So it's harder to, and so I just think that's how this works. And my caution to people watching this right now would be disengage from all of these people. I don't care who your favorite podcaster is. If they've got 5 million followers, there's probably a reason. It's probably best you just emotionally remove yourself so then you can see clearly when something's being played on you. Because the more you outsource your critical thinking, the worse off you're going to be in life.
That's a bar. You need to repeat that for the people in the back.
I don't remember how it's
the more you outsource
your critical thinking, the worse you're going to be in life. And so when people always say, like, to me, not always, but I should say some say, man, Brian's so stubborn. I say, no, to me, I don't outsource my critical thinking. So I'm not stubborn at all. I just, whatever I think. And that's it. I don't go, hey, Didi, what did he think on that? Oh, well, then I got to drop my. No, I'll consider it. Of course, there's a fine line, but I don't outsource it. In other words, when something happens, I don't wait to hear, what did Didi think on that before I have my own opinion. Remember what you and I talked about with Venezuela? What I suspected happened, and I know I got blasted for it. People are like, he doesn't understand time zones. I said, it makes funny that all the influencers run at night. So then in the morning, we couldn't wake up and have time to have our own opinion and have our own emotion. It was formed for us. When 9/11 happened, every TV had the emotion set for us before the buildings even came down. You had no time to think, does this make sense? Does it not? You had no time for that. You outsourced your critical thinking.
And sometimes it's probably involuntarily.
You wouldn't know. Yeah. Because once these things have been defined for you, you wouldn't know. This is why identity is so dangerous. I identify as straight and white. That's very dangerous. Again, now I've outsourced my critical thinking because I can't see what's being played on me because my first thing is, yeah, but he's white and straight. I'm white and straight. We're relatable. He wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? Or that person's gay. So all of that comes back to that. You should not identify as anything. Because the more you start playing that game, the harder it is to see these things that are played on you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy. And I want to say this real quick. And then we're going to wrap it up. Nick Fuentes, I believe, is another, a lot of us that have been doing this. And by doing this, I don't mean like creating content. I mean, looking at the world from a different perspective from how in which we were taught to look at the world. Many of us, that are like that already suspected this about Nick Fuentes. But I believe over the last month or so, Nick Fuentes has definitely shown that he's controlled op, that he has a platform the way that he does, not necessarily because he's an independent thinker. The things that the guy, I don't know if you know the things that he's been saying about Venezuela.
I did see those clips. Yes.
Yeah, he supports regime change. He encourages it. He thinks that it's a different situation than the Israel situation. And even more recently, his statements around Jeffrey Epstein. He said he loves Jeffrey Epstein. He wasn't trolling. He thinks he's a really cool guy. But yeah, anyways, when we talk about actors in powerful positions, especially as content creators as well, I think that's one of the biggest psyops, along with the Erika Kirk thing, that's revealing itself right now. But many people, because they rely on these people to help shape their opinions and views on, even if they say, I already have how I feel about it, but let me go to Nick so that he can help point me in the right direction. Nick Fuentes is a great example of the very thing that you just spoke about, because despite the things that he's been saying, many people are still going to support this guy. Many people are still supporting this guy, so.
So this runs really deep. If you don't mind, I can probably knock this out in a minute.
Yep.
I'm not going to say Fuentes because I'd rather generalize the group, because there could always be an outlier. So maybe what I'm about to say, there could be someone in this group that's not the case.
Okay.
There's a big group of people right now that are being amplified for their views when they speak about that country in the Middle East, or when they speak about a certain group of people that maybe run the world, maybe don't. I have no idea. And so I call them Ray Epps. Okay.
Ray Epps?
Ray Epps. Ray Epps is the guy, if you remember, at January 6th, that told everyone to get in the building, and then nothing happened to him.
Nick Fuentes?
No, Ray Epps, I'm saying.
I'm saying, I thought Nick Fuentes did that as well.
Not as flagrant as Ray Epps. I mean, he was there, and there's a video of him, but the Ray Epps thing is crazy. He's like right by the front door.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, this was a huge thing. He was screaming, go in, right?
Yeah.
So I say that metaphorically. They're all Ray Epps. Why do I say that? Major anti-Semitism bills are coming, as we've seen. Donald Trump has passed them and others. And so these people are making it normalized to speak that way. They're not going to go to jail for that. It's going to be you. Kanye West is another one that I would say possibly, of course, I'm not saying, but reminds me of in that Ray Epps category, where they're all making it cool. They're all making it acceptable, except none of them are going to go. It's going to be you. They're going to be knocking on your door because you posted that meme, or because you donated to his super chat and he read it. They're not going to be taking him down, just like Ray Epps. Like, you should be really careful to what I said earlier of these cult of personality types that you're falling in love with because they say something you agree with. It's going to end bad. Man, I've been warning people in my personal life, like, disengage from these people because, man, what you see ICE doing, it's going to be the same with these anti-Semitic, and they're going to be knocking on your door. Not going to be knocking on the doors of Kanye West or these guys. These guys are leading you into the Capitol with language that you think is acceptable because they're getting away with it. They're getting away with it on purpose. It's engineered to get you to say it. They can't pass anti-Semitism bills if there's no anti-Semitism. So they're going to use these people. You get what I mean? Like,
to help generate
actual. Yeah. And these
Yeah.
guys are effective. And I want to be clear, it's not fun. It's general. He may have nothing to do with this. He made me think of it because I think there's a group of similar sort of characters. And if anyone can just go on the internet, you can kind of see which ones get amplified when they speak that way. And you should ask yourself why. Because if it's so dangerous what they say, one line of code in the algorithm can suppress them. What happened to our highest video? Doesn't that show you how easily it can get suppressed?
Yep.
Why wouldn't they suppress them?
For those of you that don't know what Brian's referencing, if you're still watching this, a lot of you all are going to watch this on playback. I understand that Baron Coleman went live. He's live right now as well. But there's a video on the channel where Brian exposes through his research how the U.S. government is using our tax dollars to maybe fund illegal immigration. Let's just put it that way in short. You can find that on this channel in the video tab from about maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. So, yeah. All right. Any final last words? I guess the way we can end this video is stating what we think will come next. As far as this cease and desist letter, do you think they'll send it to other people? Do you think this will be the last we'll hear about it? Do you think there are other things that they're going to try to sort of pair onto this to try to do as well? What are your final thoughts, Brian?
Oof. I don't have many final thoughts because I'm really not sure. I feel like I need more time to digest. I think this can go a number of ways. It wouldn't shock me if no one else gets it. I would say we should keep an eye on what I said when the video started. Does Jimmy Dore get one? Does Candace Owens get one? Do the channels that have a huge following compared to Wolves in Finance, do they end up with one? And then if they do, then I think that changes things. And same with the Twitter personalities that, like we said, push a lot of stuff about Erika Kirk and her background. Are they all going to get letters? But I also have no idea how this goes. I just think anything's possible. We're in a unique time in the world where, so.
Totally agree. I personally do not believe that I'll receive one for the reason that I stated earlier, but we'll see what happens. Again, it's super early. We're going to read the super chats. And then we will get up out of here. All righty. It is so painful to learn your work is being demonetized. Truly saddening. Didi, you are so careful using certain language. More than other YouTube creators. Crazy. That's insane. Thank you so much for the $20 super chat. I agree. 3 or 4 of my last 5 or 6 videos have been demonetized or limited ads have been placed on it. There's another YouTuber who's a little bit larger than I am. Very conservative guy, tends to comment on my channel because he doesn't like how critical I am of Donald Trump. He heavily plays into the left versus right paradigm. I'm going to actually say his name. His name is Brian Maxwell. He comments on my stuff often. And he's always like, he's not disrespectful, but he's always like giving me some pushback. I've invited him onto the show often. He won't come onto the show and debate me. He commented the other day when I shared with people that my videos being demonetized, and he replied to somebody's comment saying that I wasn't being fully honest because I didn't share what the video topics were about, which was about PDF files. The problem is I didn't put any inflammatory, any inappropriate, any words that would violate the community guidelines in the title of the video, in the thumbnail of the video. And for the most part, the words are edited out of the actual video. And I don't ever use profanity. I've never cursed before. So that is the reason I've been doing this for 5 years. Those videos are always monetized. You just have to edit out the inappropriate language. Here's the bigger issue. Other YouTubers covered the same topics, such as the Nick Fuentes, Jeffrey Epstein clips. And they didn't edit the video. Shout out to Sabby Sabs. I love her show. Candace Owens. Both of them did the same. Their videos performed pretty well. I was flagged. I sent it in for a review. It didn't change anything. So.
Side note, Sabby Sabs just covered Why Refi about 2 days ago.
Yeah, she did. I actually commented. Did I comment on her? No, I didn't comment on her video, but I thought to. I was like, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, I thought the same. She did a good job, though.
No, she did a great job.
Great job, yeah. Like, boy, is she impressive, man. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of her content, so maybe it's because I've seen it, so I'll just say from what I've seen, to me, she's an impressive, explainer of information, an impressive, I don't know, just the way she walked through this information. I felt like I could learn a lot as someone who hasn't done this many times, real smooth, just real. I don't know. I was like, wow, it's a great channel. I wish I would have known about this channel longer.
For sure. I definitely recommend people. She considers herself Sabby's real name is Sabrina. Sabrina, if you see this video and I got this wrong, forgive me. I believe you consider yourself a leftist, not necessarily progressive. I think you consider yourself a leftist. But what's interesting, even though I don't consider myself a leftist, I agree with all of her takes for the most part. Now, if we delved into like, I don't know her views and takes on abortion and things of that sort, that may be where we differ, but I would be shocked if we differed because she's common sense and she makes a lot of sense on so many different things. Anyways, love her channel. I watched a video she dropped earlier today stating that Gavin Newsom is a Ben Shapiro Democrat. Because Gavin Newsom, he's the governor of California, correct?
Right.
Interviewed Ben Shapiro, and Ben Shapiro started spewing his nonsense about how that one country in the Middle East is not committing a you-know-what to the Palestinian people. And Gavin Newsom not only did not give him any pushback, he agreed with them.
Which reminds me, why doesn't someone send Netanyahu a cease and desist?
Exactly.
Like what Wolves in Finance is doing is so horrendous. Like put into perspective what's going on in the world, and it's like we got to shut down Wolves in Finance. Like it's just like when you zoom out, it shows you how ridiculous this world is. That like
I
this
agree.
guy's back is the problem.
You care, right? You care about a funky YouTube video that has came and went, but something that is continuously taking place, like these meetings between Donald Trump and Bibi Netanyahu and all these other world leaders. You care about a YouTuber, but okay, I digress. The bride of Chucky, she yeah, are you talking about Erika? The CEO of the ADL stated they are working with every social media space and CEO to control and monitor everything. TPUSA are connected to the small hats. Who covered this? Someone covered this. Another content creator covered this. Who? Who was it? Can't think of the name. One of the maybe 4 or 5 people that I watch actually just covered this. How they're working with YouTube. I'm gonna figure it out and maybe I'll pin it in the comment section after the fact. But yes, I heard about this, and I think this is in conjunction. I believe this is a separate movement or an additional movement, I should say, to these quote unquote $7,000 payouts that they were allegedly given to influencers. Right. I think there's an allocated budget that's been set aside for them to continue this or to extend this. I've definitely heard about it. Thank you for the $5 super chat, William. He is op. They do not want Brian and Didi to get more viewers. You guys are doing such good fact-based exposure that is dangerous for them. They fear Didi's podcast. As always, like we say, William, I know you're an avid watcher of the show. I try to consider all possibilities, and I'll be honest. Brian and I have talked a little bit offline in the past about other things, and so when this happened, the first thing I considered, I was like, I wonder if this was the play from the jump. And I'm still holding that to be a possibility, but I'm also open to that not being true. But you have to, if you really want the truth, you have to consider all things, you know?
And it can be the play without Zach even knowing.
Right.
He could have just made the video and then someone went, oh, we just hit the jackpot. We can now siphon off people from the video we didn't like and siphon them to this one. So I think people should really consider that before thinking this guy's, controlled op and this guy's, but he simply could have just made a video that worked better for the people in charge than the video we made. And it could just be that simple.
Exactly. And that would be brilliant. Probably would be the most impressive thing Turning Point USA has done in the last 3 months from a strategic perspective, because the difference in time, I believe Brian's video of his audit is like 2.5 hours or something. Zach's video, I believe, was like maybe 45 minutes, maybe an hour, a little bit over an hour. So that's at least an hour difference of digging through the paperwork and Brian breaking everything down to an atomic level. So if you're Turning Point USA and you're trying to keep people from going to that video, you have them to look in the other direction. and pretend that you're upset with that video, which would then actually explain why so many things in the cease and desist letter made no sense.
Right.
You're caring about semantics. No, you're just wanting people to look over there. Allegedly. All right. It is disgusting to bully people into silence, and that's what Erika's doing right now. I agree. They don't fear Candace. They don't fear Candace, a gatekeeper. They fear Didi. Yeah, it's interesting, man. Because Candace has like 4-5 million subscribers. To Brian's point, you're not gonna go after her, but you're gonna go after a much smaller. It just don't. It doesn't make sense. So I think, like anything else, this is our initial reaction. But when we've had time to digest it, analyze, maybe see what happens after this, it will help provide more context, and we will be able to see it from a different perspective once more things take place after the fact. Like anything, like when a crime first takes place, you can give your immediate thoughts, but when an investigation is conducted and you've spoken to the people that were there, you're better able to, more accurately speak on it. When you started, who is advising Erika Kirk, I had the thought she is trying to destroy TPUSA, or each response they look worse. With each response, they look worse, in my opinion. Yeah. Some people have alleged that may be what she's doing on purpose. I don't know.
I guess I just wondered what would be the benefit for her destroying Turning Point.
Say it again.
How would she benefit from destroying Turning Point? I mean, like, why would she want to destroy? I guess, I mean, there could be a reason. I don't know her, but just like when I think about it, and I could be missing something. That's why I'm not sure. But what comes to mind would just be why. Like, did someone piss her off there? Did she always hate the organization?
Right, because it's her
infiltrate. Like,
right.
I don't know. Just seems like she has a lot to benefit from the organization as opposed to not.
Mm-hmm. Maybe what I've seen someone say before was maybe they're intentionally sabotaging the reputation of Turning Point USA because they know that the funds or the finances at Turning Point USA is very sketchy. So because they're losing so many donors and it's going in the gutter anyways, it's best to let it just sort of fall off by the wayside, and people will stop looking into the finances or caring.
I didn't think of that. That could definitely be the case. Yeah,
it's a possibility.
Definitely.
Didi and Brian are a powerful force for truth. 100%. I appreciate that, William.
Thank you.
Thank you, Didi and Brian. Absolutely.
Thank you. Yep.
Yeah. Whenever Brian Brian and I can figure out a way, I'm gonna send Brian half of this money. We just got to figure out.
That's not why I came on.
Yeah, no, I know that, but it's the right thing to do. Distraction, satanic confusion, Epstein who, Trump's AI mass surveillance, ICE police state, tyrannical army, stomping on right, normalizing martial law.
So this is a great, I almost called it a tweet. I don't know what you call it, a super chat. To me, this is a great, that is about as good as you can say it, right? That sums it up.
Yeah, which is, I guess we could discuss it another time, but it's a lot we hadn't discussed. So, it's a lot going on right now. You and I haven't discussed on the channel, such as the ICE stuff that's taking place. If you want to just real quick, I'm curious to know your thoughts on the Minnesota situation.
I mean, I hate to do I told you so, because no one likes an I told you so guy, so I'm not going to say I told you so, but
you told us.
And I say I told you so. I'm only being sarcastic, but that's my thoughts. Like, to my point earlier, when you're not caught up in left and right and the cult of personalities, I saw this coming from a mile away, because when I started understanding what they were doing, how Palantir is connected, there's only one end. Roll out the Palantir guys, roll out the ICE, start banging heads and getting MAGA to accept it. See, if Biden was president, they wouldn't have been able to do this. This is why they had to install Trump, because now you're seeing everyone everyone cheer this on,
Because it's in the name of taking our country back.
except we're losing our country.
We're losing our country.
Because when the military can come to your house and say, I got to see if you're a citizen or not, to me, that's losing my country. I have due process. Why do I have to prove to you I'm a citizen just because there might be an illegal down the street?
Yep.
Has nothing to do with me. But that's where this is going to go, because we're going to allow it. We're, of course, going to allow it. Right now, ICE are the good guys. And if you're opposing them, you're the bad guy. You're the leftist. You're the liberal. You're Antifa. You're getting called all these names for opposing a federal agency, which I always thought we were against all these agencies, right? The CIA, the FBI. Why is ICE any different?
Exactly. And to tie into that, something we were discussing earlier, how they use these content creators to also help shape the way in which to shape your perception on how you view these things and to help you be more accepting of it. They use people like Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes is supporting what ICE is doing and says that he thinks that what happened in Minnesota should set a precedent, that if you are not going to cooperate with ICE, these are Nick Fuentes' words, if you are not going to cooperate with ICE and do as you're told in this country, then you have to face the consequences immediately. What?
Who's he to say that?
Right. Who are you to say that? But how would you, because it's inconsistent with the other, and he got called out by his own base or a portion of his own base. And some people that were not a part of his base called him out and said, well, this is inconsistent with things you've said before, right? This isn't a violation of people's rights. And Nick's response was, he doesn't care. He thinks this is a different situation. He, in the name of getting illegals out of this country, this is a sort of a, I forget the thing. This is essentially something we have to accept that comes with it.
You know what this is? This is 15 days to stop the spread. Remember COVID, 15 days to stop the spread? What'd that turn into?
Oh, yeah, right.
6 months locked in your house. You give an inch, they take 10 miles.
Right.
So in a vacuum, I may not disagree with having some kind of ICE organization, right? Because clearly we have a problem with illegal immigration in this country. So they do need to be moved out. So in a vacuum, but every time you give them an inch, do they ever stop at an inch? In history, have they ever? That's why I called it, it's 15 days to stop the spread. It wasn't 15 days. This is not going to be just, oh, they're only going to do illegal. You're already seeing the videos going after regular citizens. Like, that was always the plan. And then it's going to get so bad, the Palantir technology is going to come in. Who backed JD Vance? Palantir, Peter Thiel. I don't want to say anything, but I have a massive story ready to go soon on a lot of this. That'll really clear things up for everyone.
Yeah.
It's like 80% done.
Okay, bet.
So,
yeah, William, great comment, man. I'm with you, and I think sort of some of these things are important, but many of them are used as distractions while other things are taking place in the country. You know, right under people's noses. Brian, you are greatly appreciated and always add a perspective I haven't thought of. You guys are a great team. Kay, we appreciate that. I appreciate
thank you for that.
They like Real American Voice, and people will circle the wagons around Turning Point USA. Yeah. Here's why the big channels don't get banned. But if Owens and Dorr are in on it, why did they promote wolves and finance work? I just want to be careful, man. I don't know. That's the safe answer. I don't know, because I love Jimmy Dore's channel. I truly do. He seems to be a no BS, almost reminds me of the uncle that a lot of people have in their family, where he just says what's on his mind. And a lot of people appreciate that. But I did question, because he religiously on his channel, if you watch Jimmy Dore, shout out to Jimmy Dore, he religiously reacts to X videos, X posts, and tweets. in comments. And he responded to Wolves and Finance video, but he didn't respond to the original one that was all over Twitter. That, by the way, was never dropped on Twitter. People were clipping this 2.5-hour video all over Twitter or X. But Jimmy Dore never responded to that one. Could it be because I'm not in the club? I don't know. Maybe it could be a much more organic reason.
Yeah. I'll play devil's advocate for Jimmy Dore. So he's a full-time stand-up comedian.
Yep.
So his show runs a little different than yours. He has producers that go out, find these clips online.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they set it up for him, and then he goes off and looks at it. Like, generally, Jimmy Dore is not scrubbing like you and I are if we're going to do a live stream. So just to say in his defense, it could just be something as simple as that. Maybe the producer thought the Wolves and Finance video was better, so they tell him, hey, this is the one. You know, I think that's definitely plausible.
Yep.
And the other thing where I think Jimmy Dore deserves a lot of credit during the COVID, you know what, that we had to get.
Oh, yeah. He talks about that a lot. He
hurt his career for the position he took. You know what I mean? Like stand-up clubs, you know, canceling him. Personal friends came on the show and never worked with him again. He had guys on that show that were with him for like 5 years. And because of that position, they were gone. Not because he kicked them off, because they were so annoyed with him so like he lost a lot. So you got to respect the guy like that. And that's how I've always, you know.
You were watching Jimmy Dore. You were familiar with Jimmy Dore back in 2020?
Oh, more like probably 15 years. Only because I used to like stand-up comedy. I don't anymore because it's so terrible. You know what I mean? Now stand-up is like unwatchable. But, you know, there was a time where I knew all the stand-up comics and I enjoyed, and he was, excuse me, he was one of them. You know,
because like everything else, it used to be better.
Way better. Yeah. Like Jimmy Dore at one time was kind of like a George Carlin, if you've ever seen him, like really like sharp political.
It's one big club and you ain't in.
That's George Carlin, right? Yeah. So yeah, I've and Jimmy Dore used to be on that Young Turk show, and then I think he either quit or they threw him off because same thing, he took principled stance. He didn't just go with the money. Jimmy Dore's been calling out that country in the Middle East forever too, way before it became popular.
I did not know that. I just found him in the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, no. So I mean, you know, but again, I don't know the guy personally. I'm just observing what I've seen. It could be like you said, it could be something else too. But from what I've seen, that's what I've seen. So
for sure, I agree. Sabby Sabs wants socialism though. So I'm about 95% sure in her video today, I believe it was the one about either Gavin Newsom or the video about she made another video I watched today. She dropped 2 videos today. One of the videos, she stated that she hates socialism if not more than the next person. I'm almost positive that she said that. Maybe someone else said it and I got her mixed up.
Do you know who the most socialist country is in the world?
No.
America.
This is where I'm always confused. And I've heard other people get confused too. Define socialism.
Well, I can't because everyone has a different definition based on the argument they want to win. Just like communism, just like capitalism.
No.
But to me, based on definitions I've heard, America, by far, without question, is the most socialist country in the world. Corporate socialism. How did Elon Musk? And we have no time left to get into this, but you just start looking at Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Amazon. It's a definition of socialism. They're getting every handout, every government subsidy, every tax break, every print, right? Like, so there's socialism for the peasants, like they tell us happens in Venezuela. And then there's socialism for the corporate class. Just do the math. How could they become a 250 billionaire?
All right.
How is that possible? Through socialism. They have to make you think. And again, they always have to trick you. So that's why they beat you over the head with capitalism. Look at every big influencer. I'll die for capitalism. There's no capitalism in America. That's an insane thing to think. How can there be? How is there a free market? Everything's manipulated and controlled. Stock market's controlled. Companies are controlled. Algorithms control things. There's no free market anywhere. regulations, right? They can regulate a small business, and then the small business goes out of business, but then Starbucks is on every corner because they regulated, right? They can make a minimum wage. Well, the coffee shop can't pay their 16-year-old 15 an hour, so they go out of business. Then the owner ends up working at Starbucks, and away we go. Same with Walmart. How is that capitalism? During COVID, the largest upward transfer of wealth in the history of the world, 5.6 trillion, went to the corporations, and like breadcrumbs went to the peasants. How is that socialism, isn't it? Or should we call it another term? Maybe we'll call it, I don't know, thievery, robber barons. I don't know what you want to call it, but
Right.
it's to me horrendous the way they do these things, and they beat us over the head with like something else because they never want us to realize this.
All right. And maybe the fact that so many people got different definitions or have different definitions of socialism and capitalism and things of that sort, maybe that's on purpose as well.
I mean, America's 38 trillion in debt. By August, it's going to be 40 trillion. That seems pretty socialist to me. How did that happen?
Right. All right. Last one. Thank you so much, Tammy, for the $50 super chat.
Wow.
My elementary school granddaughter was in school the other day. One of the teachers had his students make hateful ICE posters and march around the school, then put the pictures in the windows. What purpose would that serve? And then it's elementary. What would that serve? I think that's just inviting unneeded attention.
I mean, that's horrible to hear.
Yeah, Tammy, that's scary. Yeah. Heck yeah. All right, y'all. Well, those are my thoughts. Maybe we'll go live again here in the next week or so. Let some things play out, and we'll circle back. But as of right now, I haven't received anything. I don't expect to. I'll reach out to Zach. Possibly Zach could even come onto the show, have a conversation. But we'll see how this play out, everybody. So I'm gonna go wind down. Long weekend. I'm tired. Brian, as always, brother, appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me.
And yeah, I'll see y'all tomorrow. I have a interesting video to drop on a different topic, but pray for everybody mentioned in this video for sure. What's Brian's social? He doesn't have any.
My social is this channel.
His socials is Didi Got a Podcast. Look him up on Instagram and YouTube.
I hope I stay exclusive to here. Like I said, I respectfully turn down other channels. I enjoy coming on this channel. I enjoy working on stories for this. So I hope it continues. And this is my social. Find me here.
Heck yeah. Y'all just got to convince Brian. Because remember, our guy Michael, who wasn't able to make this live, and I only know that because Michael always sends in the super chat when he's here, sent me, I believe, $50 to get Brian a shirt. Or a hoodie. And I'm still waiting for Brian to give me the green light so I can do that.
Oh, yeah, we can do that. We just, yeah.
All right,
I'd love to wear it on the show too. Absolutely.
Heck yeah. Let's figure that out offline. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Brian, I'll see you, bro.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Oh yeah, Didi got a podcast.
Attitudes and our work ethic become very important in realizing our goals and opening up possibilities. I had lunch a couple of weeks ago with a recent graduate at UCA. And his story is really fascinating. It's one of overcoming homelessness during his time pursuing his degree, first at a community college here in Arkansas, and then finishing his bachelor's degree here at UCA. His narrative ranges from estrangement from family for many years to a hopeful reunion with mother and siblings. His record is one of overcoming odds in a way that I probably could not, and certainly demonstrating levels of tenacity and patience and optimism that I can only marvel at. He wanted to talk with me about his new job and his career path going forward. I really need to be there to learn from him because that's where the real value was.
Everything I say in this video is alleged. Allegedly.
No such thing as a life that's better than yours. Y'all can just repeat after me. I really appreciate it. Alright. No such thing. Come on, we can do better than that. Talk to me. Alright, let's start it over. No such thing as a life that's better than yours.
You're worse than the rich white people or the rich white Jews that own these record labels, because they don't even understand these populations. You have a lot closer relationship to these people, and you're leading them to hellfire. You are leading them in the wrong direction in the name of getting rich and famous. How dare you?
Oh yeah, Didi got a podcast.